Hi, everybody, and you're very welcome to our Los Angeles English School YouTube channel. My name's Helen, I'm head teacher here, and today we're going to talk about TOEFL speaking task number 1. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, but you'd like to get notified of all our upcoming videos and new lessons, make sure to hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon. And let's get started. So as I said, we're going to talk about TOEFL speaking task number 1. So this video or this lesson is for those of you who are getting ready for your TOEFL. So earlier they had two independent speaking tasks, speaking task number 1 and speaking task number 2. But recently, there have been some changes to the TOEFL speaking section. And earlier, there used to be 6 speaking questions, but now things have changed and they actually have made them much easier. So now instead of 6 speaking questions, you have only 4. And I think this is wonderful news. So it's much easier. That is why independent speaking task is only one and the only one. So today we're going to take a look at this task. All right, so let's get down to work. Now everything is visible. So let's talk today about this independent speaking task, which is now is the only one in TOEFL. So here you have some directions. So you will be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. So this question will ask you to choose one option from 2 or 3 different choices. And you will have to choose one and explain why you prefer this option. So you will be given only 15 seconds to prepare your response, so that's not a lot of time. So you can imagine 15 seconds, and we will see how long it is just in a few moments. Then you will record yourself speaking and you will be giving only 45 seconds. So 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to talk. And you will see the clock, and the clock will count the time down, and you will see how time is running out. And now let's take a look at different variations of questions. So there might be something like this. Which do you prefer? I should say this is the most common one. So, for example, some people believe that telecommuting, by the way, telecommuting, it's when you do your job from home, or doing their jobs from home is the best way to work. Others think that working in an office is better. Which do you prefer? Or you could have 3 choices. So, would you prefer to work on a project at college alone, with a partner, or in a group? Or agree or disagree. For example, some universities require students to take physical education classes such as swimming, dance, or basketball. Do you agree or disagree with this requirement? Or you could be asked to talk about advantages and disadvantages. For example, many students are asked to evaluate their professors at the end of the semester. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this? So, but mostly it's like you have to think about the best option. So, for example, 3 first questions here, which do you prefer, 3 choices, or agree or disagree? Actually, they are very similar. You have to choose the better option and explain why you prefer this option. Advantages and disadvantages, it's a little bit different question because you will have to list advantages and disadvantages to one specific thing. So But in general, you gotta be ready to talk about something positive and explain why you like it. And I can see that some people are joining me. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Ramis, hello. Victoria, as usual, great. Alex, hi. Thank you guys for being with me today. And let's move on. So now you can see the evaluation criteria. So probably if you know or if you've heard something about TOEFL already, you know that you can get maximum 120 points for all sections of the exam. So each section has maximum 30 points. You can see the table. Also, when the examiner, for example, evaluates your answer, your response, writing, speaking, doesn't matter. So the examiner will give you from 1 point till 4, but then these points they will be transformed based on the 30-point score. So this is how it looks. Now let's look at the assessment criteria. So what the examiner is gonna be looking for. So the first is your delivery. Delivery, it means so how clear and fluid your speech is, your pronunciation, natural pace, and intonation. And I'd like you to pay attention to this because you will be given only 45 seconds to talk, and it's not a lot. And many people, because they are worried that the time will run out very quickly, they try to speak very quickly, and it's not a good idea. So you need to speak at a natural pace. Even if you see that you're running out of time, don't hurry up. So speak naturally. The next is language use. So they will be looking at your use of grammar and vocabulary, how you express your ideas, and how well you use grammar and vocabulary while expressing your ideas. The next is topic development. How fully you answer the question, how clearly you express your ideas, and how you connect the ideas. So these are three main evaluation criteria. Let's move on. So now I will give you a few response tips. So because you need to meet those evaluation criteria, you should bear in mind some recommendations. So the first thing is clearly state what your opinion is. So now we're talking about not mainly about your preference, because the fourth type of question, if you remember, we looked at was advantages and disadvantages. So here you don't necessarily have to state your opinion, you just need to talk about advantages and disadvantages. But the first three types of a question require to state your opinion. So do you agree or disagree? And which option you prefer. So make sure that you clearly state what you think. The next, give at least 2 reasons to support your opinion. So for example, you have a question, which do you prefer, to use mass transportation or to drive a car? So you cannot just say that I prefer to drive a car, for example. You need to think about minimum 2 reasons that you should list in your response. And these reasons will explain your preference. You might give examples to support your reasons. The example should have good details, and the relationship between the example and your opinion should be clear. So, for example, you give the first reason that you prefer to drive a car because it's much more comfortable for you. And then you can give examples. So you can be alone, you can read a book, you can talk to your partner, no one disturbs you, you have an air conditioner. So these are all examples how you can explain your preference. The next, you can also develop the response by contrasting different choices. So, for example, if you have a question about your own car or using public transportation, you can show the contrast between these different means of transportation. You can say, unlike going on the subway, the car is much more convenient and comfortable. So, and then you can show the contrast why riding on the subway, for example, is not so comfortable, and having your own car gives you much better options. So now we have a question, and we will try to think how you need to respond. So the first type of question, which do you prefer? So some people think that it's better to use mass transportation, such as buses, trains, and subways. Others feel that driving a car is a better means of transportation. Which do you prefer and why? So, guys, because I can see that some of you have joined me today, let's practice together, okay? So, what you need to do, by the way, you will be given 15 minutes to prepare your response. And you will be given a sheet of paper and pen and a pencil to prepare. Of course, 15 seconds is not enough to write down the whole answer. Even to plan your answer is difficult, so it's a very short period of time. But what you need to do is you need to think about the reasons. So you need to choose one option and think about the reasons, at least two reasons, and you can take notes on that. So just to keep you concentrated and not to forget to say about this. So now I'd like you to think a little bit. So which do you personally prefer? To use buses, trains, and subways, or to use a car? And could you please think about at least two reasons why you prefer this means of transportation? Let me know in the chat box. So I can see Maria has joined us. Hi, Maria. So which do you prefer and why? At least two reasons, guys. So I can see Maria when you're driving a car because of the traffic jam. So you don't like traffic jams, and if you drive a car, traffic might be bad and you can get stuck in the traffic jam. Yeah. I prefer public transportation, Victoria writes, because I can't afford to buy a car and I'm concerned about air pollution. Great, yeah. Thank you, guys. So these are all great ideas. Now I have a sample answer for you, and here how it looks, and I'm gonna read it for you how it should be said. Of course, this is kind of too perfect because you won't be so prepared for this, so my answer would be maybe too perfect. It could be a little bit worse, so because the examiner understands this is your natural speaking. So I will try to read it as if I were talking this. So let's go. To me, I definitely prefer using mass transportation for a few reasons. The first reason I prefer taking the bus or the subway is that I'm a student without a lot of money and I live in a big and busy city. For example, I don't have a car because it's too expensive to buy gas and take care of repairs, and finding parking is a huge problem. Another reason I think that people shouldn't drive is that most cars cause air pollution because of exhaust fumes. In my opinion, we can help the environment a lot if we all decide to use mass transportation, which is more environmentally friendly. Finally, because of the terrible traffic in the city, people can get really stressed out when they drive. That's why it's an added benefit for me to travel on the bus, train, or subway. It gives me time to relax and read or to do my studies. Therefore, public transportation is a far better option for me. So this is an example that you could give. So this is the answer, the example of the response that you may give. Now let's analyze this response a little bit. So there is no rule how your response should look like, but there are some recommendations. So because if your answer is structured and organized, it would sound more professional, like kind of it would be better for your score. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to state exactly what you prefer, and then you need to show that you give the reasons. So here I gave 3 reasons, but 2 reasons would be enough, really. Then you develop your reasons, and then you make like just a little conclusion. So here I have, therefore, public transportation is a far better option for me. So if you structure your answer, so you would probably get a higher score, and it looks more organized. So you show that you have the reasons, you show that you give examples, and I have a template for you. So this template you can use for giving your preference response. So, and you can use it. To me, I definitely prefer to or over for a few reasons. So you open your response. Then you show these reasons. The first reason is, the second reason, another reason is, finally, and a little conclusion, therefore. So this is the perfect answer, and it works really well, and it helps you a lot, actually. So let's move on to another example. Oh, no, sorry. Also, I have here some nice phrases that you could use to introduce your own arguments and opinions, because you need to state your preference, you need to say exactly what you think. You also have to use some expressions to show that this is your opinion. So, for example, I personally tend to think, feel, believe that. I personally agree that. In my opinion, from my point of view. My personal feeling, point of view is that, or my personal belief is that, my personal opinion is that, I would take the view that, I personally would argue, I personally would suggest that, I completely agree with the view that, I completely agree with the idea that, I completely agree with the suggestion that. So make sure that you use some phrases when you show that this is your opinion. All right, so before we move on to the next part, so we have some more answers here. So in my point of view, driving, it can be good because you haven't got traffic problem. So Ramis, as I understand from your answer, you think that it's better to drive and you have less, you will have better traffic. All right. So Maria, I prefer public transportation. It is more convenient. All right. Thank you guys. So now we're moving on. And we have another question. So which do you prefer? So this is the same type of a question, but we will try to answer this in a little bit different way. So I will show you another way of organizing your response. So some people believe that telecommuting or doing their jobs from home, so telecommuting again, it's when you stay at home and do your job from home, is the best way to work. Others think that working in an office is better. Which do you prefer and why? So guys, again, I'd like you to think, which do you prefer, and try to think about at least 2 reasons why you prefer this. So I can see, Ramiz, you write that, in my opinion, I prefer use aircraft because there is no any traffic. So there is no traffic, and it's not also it's not stressful. Yeah, it's great that you prefer aircraft, but because the question was, you need to you needed to choose only one option from two possible options. So you cannot add another option. So make sure that you read the question carefully and you choose from the options that they list. Okay, so don't make things up, please. So I know we are talking about telecommuting or working in an office. So which do you prefer? And give two reasons why. All right, so I'm gonna give you my sample answer and you can see how you can organize your answer differently. So here I use a little bit different approach and I try to show contrast between different options. And I'd like you to pay attention how I organize my answer and the phrases that I'm gonna be using to contrast and compare two different things. So I'll read it at a natural pace. So I imagine that I am actually answering the question and I'm recording myself. So while telecommuting and working in an office both have their advantages, I feel telecommuting is a better solution. First, compared to working at home, you might have to spend as many as 10 hours a week or more if you need to drive or take the bus to the office. So, in contrast to spending all the time just to get to work, when you telecommute, you just wake up at home and start working right away. For this reason, I believe you actually get more work done at home. Working in an office can be good because you can see everyone and go to meetings. However, it's not always necessary because technology now allows people to communicate very easily using computers. You can have live phone or video conferences, you can exchange documents, you can get any information you need to make decisions by using email and the internet. And unlike working at the office, I think you're more productive at home because you aren't wasting time by standing around talking to other employees. So that's why I feel telecommuting is a lot better than working in an office. So this is a little bit different approach. You also give reasons, but you try to show the contrast between two different things but again, you clearly have to state what you prefer, and also you give reasons, but you also show the contrast between two different things, and then you make a little conclusion. So let me check, guys, your comments. So Victoria, in my opinion, working from home is better. Firstly, you don't need to waste time in order to get to your workplace exactly. Another reason is you can plan your schedule in a more flexible way. Agree. However, some people may have problems with it because there is no boss at home to control you and you might miss your colleagues. Yeah. So it depends on your productivity and ability to work without pressure. Great ideas. All right. Okay, now let's take a look at a template. So which do you prefer? So there is another approach how to compare and contrast different things. So I will give you some phrases which you could use in your response. So, for example, compared to running on a treadmill, hiking is better because, on the other hand, in contrast to life in the city, living in the country is much healthier and more relaxing. Unlike running, swimming doesn't put as much stress on your knees and legs. while, although, even though. So, for example, you can say, although having your own car is comfortable, using mass transportation is much more environmentally friendly. Despite the fact that so, for example, despite the fact that driving a car is costly, uh, many people prefer prefer it. So I have given not a good example actually. So for example, you can say despite the fact that running is healthy, swimming is much more relaxing. So driving your own car is far more comfortable. However, using mass transportation is cheaper. So these are great examples how you can compare different options and it will higher your score. All right, so let's go on. So before we move on, Ramis wrote, in my opinion, working from home is better. Firstly, you don't waste lots of time and you should be more relaxed. So, probably you can be more relaxed. Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. So, if you have agree or disagree question. For example, some universities require students to take physical education classes, so PE, such as swimming, dance, or basketball. Do you agree or disagree with this requirement? Again, it's a very similar question actually. It's almost the same, just the wording is different. Yeah, do you agree or disagree? Again, you have to present your opinion and you have to give minimum 2 reasons. So, again, guys, I'd like you to think it over. And what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with this requirement? And can you think of at least 2 reasons why? And don't forget, you will be given only 15 seconds to think about that. All right, so I think that 15 seconds are over and I'll give you my answer. So this is my sample answer. Again, I will be reading it as if I'm having the Toefl. So, I completely disagree that universities should force students to take physical education classes. To begin with, I believe that students always need more time in their schedules for their studies, and so I think it's best if they focus on homework and research for their regular classes. In my view, there are plenty of physical activities students can choose to get involved in on their own when they have time. In addition, I also feel that there might be some students who aren't good at physical exercise or team games, and they might be embarrassed in front of other people if they have to play sports or do some other kind of exercise. Furthermore, if a student doesn't like physical education class, the student isn't gonna be motivated to do it well or even enjoy it. For these reasons, I think students should have a choice about whether or not to take physical education classes. So, this is an example response. It is a response for a high score, for 4 or 30 points. So again, you state your opinion, you agree or disagree, then you give reasons. So here I have 3, but you could give 2, it's okay. And then you make a little conclusion if you have time. Sometimes you don't, but it's not a big deal. It's okay. You don't have to do it, but it's just better. All right, so let me check your answers. So, Ramis, in my opinion, working from home, I read it already. I agree with this argument because when you do exercise, you're going to be more healthy, so you're going to be healthier and you feel yourself confident. Yeah, and you feel confident. Maria, I would agree with that. The first reason is keeping your health. So you can say maintaining your health or keep yourself healthy. Another reason is going to be healthier. You mean like you can stay fit? Actually, Maria, I think that these two reasons, they are the same, no? I think it's actually, I think they seem like one reason, to be honest to me. So, Victoria, I totally agree with this requirement. In my opinion, students should grow up strong and healthy, okay? PE classes at the university can be a good opportunity for them to keep fit because education is usually sedentary lifestyle, okay? On the other hand, no one must be forced to attend them because it can affect the quality of training. All right, thank you. Perfect. Great. So let's take a look at the template for this. So if you have agree or disagree question, just remember this structure. So first you state your opinion. I do agree or disagree that, or I completely agree, disagree that. To begin with, your first reason, in addition, another reason, furthermore, if you have more ideas, and then a little conclusion. For these reasons, I think that, and you just conclude, you wrap up your answer. Okay, guys, so let's move on. What do I have here? Also, there is the last type of a question that we are going to look at is advantages, disadvantages. So, and I have an example for you. Many students are asked to evaluate their professors at the end of the semester. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this? Of course, as you might have guessed already, you have to list advantages and disadvantages for this. Again, I give you some time. Don't forget you will be given only 15 seconds. It's really little time. Think about some advantages, disadvantages. So you can think of one advantage, one disadvantage. So can you type your answers in the chat box? And I'm really interested to see them. So guys, while you are thinking about your advantages and disadvantages, I'll give you my answer. So, and this is how I'm gonna be talking. I believe that there are both pluses and minuses to the kind of evaluation when students assess their professor's work. On the one hand, since superior staff can sit on every class, they should take input from the students on how the class went. Students are likely to be honest in their reviews, so the teachers can also learn from their mistakes by analyzing their learners' responses and drawing some conclusions on what changes should be made and how to work in the future. Having said that, I feel that there are drawbacks as well. If learners know that they'll receive a failing grade, they may be dishonest in their review and could say that the professor wasn't fair and didn't teach them properly, even if that isn't true. This can be hurtful to the teacher and even detrimental to their career. So I'm sure that there are pros and cons to asking students to evaluate their professors' performances. So let me check your responses. If I can see them, of course. All right, so I can see no responses. That's why we're going to move on and I'll show you what to do. So again, you kind of open the answer. You say that, yeah, I agree that there are advantages, disadvantages. Then you give some advantages, then you give some disadvantages, and again, you close your answer, you give some conclusion. Here, as you see, there is nothing special, you just state your opinion. And also, it's nice to have in your arsenal some synonyms of advantages, disadvantages, because you can't repeat yourself all the time. So, here's the template that I recommend you using. So, I believe that there are both pluses and minuses too. On the one hand, and you list advantages. Having said that, you show the contrast and you give disadvantages. And then you make a conclusion. So I'm sure that there are pros and cons to this thing. So here are some synonyms for you to remember not to say advantage, disadvantage all the time. So you can say benefit, drawback, upside, downside, pro, and con, positive aspect, negative aspect, plus, and minus. So make sure that you don't repeat yourself all the time. So, and I have some answers here, great. So Victoria, professor's performance evaluation is a good way for them to see how well they do their job, but I'm not quite sure that a student can give a professional feedback. Yeah, exactly. Make sure that feedback is unaccountable without any article. Of course, they will be sincere. And give you all the details of the lesson. That's a good point. On the contrary, the student can cheat just to show disrespect towards the teacher she doesn't like. I'm convinced that there are both pros and cons in this kind of assessment. Yeah, perfect. All right, and what I'd like to do now is I'd like to summarize some recommendations or some tips for you before we actually practice a real exam mode question. So let's summarize one more time. So, what you have to do to prepare. Practice speaking continuously for 45 seconds. Record yourself and then listen. So everyone has a phone, I'm sure, and in our phone we have voice recorders. So you can record yourself and you also see the timer. You can see the time and you need to practice speaking for 45 seconds. You need to feel how much time it is. So when you listen to your recorded responses, note any repetition of vocabulary because it's important to vary your language. Pay attention to any grammar mistakes you hear, write them down and try to correct them. Make sure that you're easy to understand, your speech flows, and you use natural pacing and intonation without too many pauses and hesitations. So you gotta record yourself all the time if you actually are preparing for the TOEFL. The next tip. So sometimes it happens, guys, that 45 seconds is little time. So you may run out of time before you can say everything you want in your answer. The raters understand that this happens, so don't start speaking too quickly when you see you're running out of time because the quality of your response is equally as important as the quantity. So as I said before, don't hurry. like you see the timer is running out and you're quickly speaking. No, it's not okay. So the examiner, the rater, will understand it. It happens, it's not a big deal, no worries. The next, sometimes it happens, the complete opposite situation happens. So if you finish before time runs out, so maybe you have no ideas, you don't know what to say, don't repeat what you've already said. Instead, think of another example to support one of your points. So let's imagine you were talking about mass transportation, you prefer mass transportation, and you have said everything, but you see that you have a lot of time left. So don't repeat yourself. Think about another example, think about another reason, maybe think about the contrast, give another example from your personal life. So, and to be able to do so, of course, you need to practice. So, after this lesson, when we finish, I'm going to share with you a lot of questions to this type. So, for independent speaking task number 1, and you can practice answering those questions and recording yourself and just try to think about all these ideas. And now I have prepared something special. I actually would like to show you how the real thing looks like and what it is like to be on Toefl. So I will show you now a speaking task and we will try it in a real mode. So guys, now you will hear the question and let's imagine that it's a real exam. And I'd like you really, when now we're gonna be doing this, try to either record yourself if possible. If now you have a phone with you, make sure to get ready and you can record your answer and you can feel how it works. Or you can just try and give your answer orally. If you can, just do it, please. And actually try to feel the real exam. So just a moment and you'll do this.
This section measures adjusting the microphone. In this section of the test, please listen carefully. In this question, you will be asked to talk about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. Describe changes in technology that have affected. Please begin speaking after the beep.
So
Please listen carefully. In this question, you will be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. What kind of friend is better? One who is very similar to you, or one who is very different? Which kind of friend do you prefer and why? Include details and examples in your explanation. You may begin to prepare your response after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep.
all right. So how did you do? I hope that you did well, guys. So this is this was a real exam practice. So this is what's going to happen to you during the real exam. So that's it for today. What I'd like you to do with this question. So I hope that you really practiced and you tried to talk, but if not, you can write down your response in the comments below the video. So I'll check your answers and I'll give you the score. So what else? We have a specific, very special and very good service. We evaluate your writing and speaking responses for TOEFL preparation. So for this, you can visit our website, losangeles.englishschool.com, and check out this service. You also can prepare for the TOEFL at our school, and again, you can visit our website, losangeles.englishschool.com. If you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel yet and you'd like to get notified of all our upcoming videos, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. Thank you guys very much for being with me today, and I wish you have a great one, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!